Hey, what's up? Don't click away. Today I'm going to show you how to replace a cracked screen on an Apple Watch Series 4. What's up, everyone? Thanks for sticking around and checking out this episode. If this is your first time here and you guys enjoy all things tech and repair related, please make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and smack that bell so you're notified on our latest videos. For those of you out there that do need a repair, please make sure to reach us at www.mrphonedoctor.com, or you can simply reach us at any of our social media platforms found here. If you guys have any questions, comments, or suggestions, leave them down below and I'll do my best to get to you guys. For those of you out there who are interested in learning how to repair, please visit our training courses found in podia.com. I'll leave a link down below in the description area. Alright, so now that we got all that out of the way, what's up guys? Thanks again for tuning in and checking out this episode. So today we're actually going to be working on an Apple Watch Series 4. This watch does have a cracked display, as you can see here. Now the good thing on this one is the touches and everything is still fully working, okay? So sometimes during the impact you may damage your digitizer as well. If that happens, you'll need to replace the digitizer and the glass assembly. In this case, we're only going to be replacing the front layer of glass because only the glass is damaged. Luckily, it didn't go through and penetrate the digitizer. Now keep in mind, this repair can actually be done on Apple Watch Series 4s, 5s, and 6s. Okay, it's a Series 3 that actually has the digitizer and the glass built in together, so those two need to be replaced as one. I highly recommend that if you are new to repair, you do not try this at home, okay? You can actually lead to damage of the OLED or even the digitizer, which will actually increase the cost on this type of repair. So please, if you do try this at your own risk, and don't come blaming me if you guys do damage your OLED or digitizer. It's a fair warning that I warned you guys. So let's go ahead and begin the repair. We're going to first heat up the device and we're going to go ahead and remove the display from the watch body. Alright, a few minutes has passed. The device feels nice and toasty. So we can go ahead and begin removing this panel from the Apple Watch. We need some goggles. We're going to use some ISO 99%, and I'm going to use this little opening tool that we have here. This will just help remove everything from the frame. And what I like to do is I just like to put a thin bead of alcohol along all the breaks, everything here. This just helps soften any kind of adhesive. Alright, so we're good. So you do want to be extra careful down here on the bottom because you do have your flex running down here. So just be very mindful when you go through with your opening tool and make sure not to go in too deep on the edges, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start from here. You can see how it has separated from the frame. You want to just be very careful with it. Now I do like to test it after we do separate it just to make sure everything's fully working. So I'm going to go ahead and let it cool down. Once it gets cool, we can go ahead and give it a touch test and make sure that all the touch and everything's still working properly. And then any shards or anything like that, you do want to get them out of the way. I'm going to get these out just so we don't have any risk of them hitting the flex. As you can see how the flex is right here on the bottom. Last thing you want is to have a little shard go in there and kill the OLED. So while it's still warm, I'm going to go ahead and remove these little shards down below. There, now we have a nice safe zone here for our OLED. Alright, you can see that the panel and everything is still good. I'm going to test the touch. And there you can see how the touch is still working perfectly. So we're good. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back off. Once it's dead, we can go ahead and continue by removing the flex cables. And I do want to put it back on some heat because these flex cables are actually adhered to the back. There's the adhesive right in here. So I'm going to go ahead and warm it up, and I'm going to use a clear OCA sheet to just go ahead and help dissolve and soften up this adhesive that's on here. So I'll just set it on here gently. Make sure that nothing's hitting on the flex. Let it warm up. We'll get our clear little OCA sheet ready. And while it's warming up, the good thing is the panel heats up pretty quickly, so I could go ahead and start by removing these flexes here. And like I said, you do want to be careful with this one because you don't want to hit the OLED flex down on the bottom of the device. So we have to do this one very, very carefully. Add a little bit of solution here to soften the adhesive. And you can see here how I'm just going through right here on this flex area. I hope you guys can see okay. I know this angle is not the best, but I'll show you guys exactly what I'm doing once I get this off. So you can see how it came out. So this is the little flap that's actually adhered to the panel. So what I did was I went ahead and went through and just separated this down below. I really don't know if this is like some kind of antenna or what, but it's got some kind of grounding points right here. You can see that these grounding points are right on here. You can see those, so I really don't know exactly what they are, but I'm gonna remove this from the flexes so that way I have access to the flexes, and I'll adhere this after I get the OLED back on. So there you go, you can see how this little flap is attached to the OLED. And now we have our flex cables here which attach to the actual display. Now since I was working on the panel, I am going to go ahead and turn it on, make sure everything's fully working, make sure nothing hit the flex, and make sure that we're good to go for the next step. As you guys know, I'm always testing everything on here. Now with these, it does have the battery connection below this battery. So typically what I would do is I would disconnect the power. You know, I'm really good with these. I know exactly to make sure that these connections, everything are good. If you're not sure, I recommend disconnecting the power on this just because you don't want to short anything out. If you are new to this type of device, I do recommend just, you know, removing the battery and disconnecting it. All right, so the watch is back on. We did separate it. I'm going to go ahead and test the touch, make sure everything's fully working. And you can see here that it is responding perfectly. So then I'm going to go ahead and kill it. I'll remove the flexes and I'll go ahead and begin removing the glass from the OLED. So make sure it's off. Once I confirm it's off, I'll just gently relieve these cables. Set the watch aside. We are going to need to tape this like we do everything, just to keep all the little shards and everything in place. All right, so we went ahead and got this taped. You can see how it's nice and trimmed. I trimmed any excess, that way we don't get any wire threading stuck on there. I'm gonna go ahead and set this up on here. Set it on the vacuum. We'll go ahead and let this warm up. Once it warms up, we'll go ahead and begin removing the glass from the panel. All right, so this should be nice and warm. I'm gonna go ahead and begin removing the glass from the panel. And we are gonna start off with this clear little card here. I'm gonna go ahead and just get that in here up on top, and I'm gonna just work my way through. Once I have a good entry point, I'll work the line on it. Let's hit the vacuum. And we are going to continue with the ISO 99. Alright, so I got a nice little entry point there. I'm going to use our wire. Alright, the OLED is separated. You can see it right here. Here she is. Now I am going to go ahead and give it another test. Let's just let her boot up. So you can see here, everything is working properly. So we are going to go ahead and want to move forward. I'm going to go ahead and remove the OCA. Once I get the OCA all removed, I'm going to go ahead and give the watch bezel a clean, since there is some little shards and everything like that on here. Just confirm that the device is off. Gently remove these flexes. And we can go ahead and set our watch panel back on the plate. I'm gonna let it warm up. I'm gonna need to grab our removal tool. All right, so I got my OCA removal tool right here. Go ahead and just remove this OCA very, very gently. She's looking pretty. Little dab of the ISO 99 right on top. And we're going to use our little cleaning cloth to just give it a little detail. Now just a reminder guys, this actually can be done on the latest Apple Watches. You know, you have the Series 5, Series 6. You won't have a problem, and I'm almost certain you might be able to do it on that new latest one. I believe that one's called the SE. I may be incorrect, but yeah, that one shouldn't be a problem as well. The main thing is you just want to make sure you have nice trained hands when you're handling this, because the wrong amount of pressure will kill the OLED. So you gotta baby these little devices here, these little panels. These are so delicate. Know how to handle them properly. So there we have her. She is clean. Now this one, it does look like it did get some internal scratches from the panel. There, see it? There's a little scratch right there. So normally whenever they do break, I do highly recommend getting it fixed, because if not, what's going to happen is any kind of force or pressure that you're pressing on the glass, it's actually going to cause these little lines and indentations, because these are very, very thin, you know, they bend, they're pliable. So you just want to make sure that you put the structure of glass back on, because that's a protective layer and it keeps this OLED panel functioning. Alright, so we can go ahead and glue the glass onto the panel. Once we have it ready, this is the Loca that we're going to use. We're going to use this here, and we are going to use the glass, which is just a little Gorilla Glass here, and we're going to use a little UV light. This little UV light here helps cure the Loca. So we'll just set this over here once it's ready to cure, and we'll be good to go. Generally, repair like this, lengthwise, I mean, you'd be probably looking at about it's probably about, you know, 45 minutes all in all. Generally doesn't take too long, so you just got to make sure you're taking your time during the most delicate process, which is the glass removal. That's a very, very delicate process. You don't want to rush yourself and of course kill the OLED. So we're going to go ahead and use some ISO to give this a nice little clean. Go ahead and press out our Loca, and you just want to put a little dot right on top here. It actually spreads pretty good, so you don't need to use a lot. And then we can just gently set the panel, or the glass I should say, onto this. And let me confirm, make sure we're using the right size. This is 40, this is 40, so we're good. Just set this on very gently so you don't get any bubbling or anything. And I'm trying to get a good overhead view. There we go. So we'll just let this little dill run through. The Loca will just slowly spread evenly. And once it spreads, we'll be able to cure it. Now the good thing with these is that you're actually able to just set the OLED on here, because the glass is actually sit pretty precise, so you really can't get this, you know, too crooked or anything like that, because the glass just sits perfectly around the OLED. I'm gonna squeeze these little bubbles out. I hope you can see these little bubbles here. There's a few little guys. Not too bad, but those will come right out. And I'm gonna just clean any excess that we did have here. Since I did squeeze it, we did get some excess glue coming out. That may be another reason for you guys to use the OCA. I just don't have any OCA cut for these. I could have used an OCA, no problem, but I don't have any pre-cut OCA for these. So everything looks good here. I'll just make sure everything's center and good. I'll go ahead and zap the top for about 30 seconds. Once that's zapped, I'll go ahead and turn it over, clean any excess that may have overfilled or overseeped out, and we'll be good to go. Alright, that should be enough time under the light. Let's go ahead and turn this over. I'm going to clean any excess, as I mentioned. We're going to use a clean little cloth. I am going to go ahead and zap this side as well, because we didn't zap it. I like to make sure that all this Loca is dry. We don't want any Loca seeping inside the device or anything at all. So we're going to go ahead and zap it so it cures completely. So we're going to get our light, and we'll zap this side as well. So we'll let this zap. As soon as it's done, I'm going to go ahead and of course we're going to test it. We'll test it on the Apple Watch. Once we confirm everything's working, I'll give the Apple Watch a nice little detail clean, and we'll go ahead and begin applicating the new glass and OLED onto the Apple Watch. All right, let me go and show you guys the finished results on this. You can see how everything came out perfect. Perfect, perfect. So let's go ahead and give it one last final test before we assemble everything. All right, we'll go ahead and turn it on. There's the Apple logo. That's good news. All right, there she is. Look at that. Touch test. Everything's working. Really, really good news. So we can go ahead and give the watch a good detail. Now, what I mean by details, you're going to see a lot of little shards on here. And this is just depending on how the damage was received on the Apple Watch. But you can see a lot of the glass shards stayed on here. So I'm going to go ahead and set this on the plate and use some tweezers just to work this glass off and give it a nice clean finish. So whenever we do put the panel back on, we are good to go. All right, let's go ahead and begin removing all these little shards. Go ahead and just use a little bit of ISO. I'm just going to go ahead and just work these little shards out. Perfect, nice and clean. You can see here how we went ahead and got all this glues off. And now we have a nice clean finish. You can go ahead and apply the OLED on and we'll give it a seal. So I'm gonna go ahead and close these little flex clamps. So make sure that these flexes don't detach or come out. All right, so those are attached. And I'm gonna go ahead and set this little sheet back on as best as I can. All right, there we have it. See, we went ahead and put everything back on. So cold press glue. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a thin little bead around the edges. And since this stuff is extra strong, you know, all you need is a small little bead. You don't really need to use too much, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just start from here. Just go along the edge. There, I'll show you guys the little bead that I went ahead and put on. Hope you guys can see it, but you can see right there, it's just a nice thin little bead. And that's going to hold very nicely. So we'll go ahead and close the panel, make sure everything's lined up properly. And any excess glue, you do want to clean that off. I recommend you guys do clean it while it's wet, because once it dries, it just cakes on there. So I'm just getting a little dab of ISO and just go around the edges and just give it a nice little clean. And I like to use the black glue, just because on this watch it is black, so any seepage or anything like that, it ends up being pretty seamless. It doesn't really show up too much. Now I'm going to go ahead and set the clamp on it. We'll let this dry for a few minutes. Once it dries, I'll go ahead and show you guys the finished gluing and everything on here. So here you can see how I use these two little clamps just to hold everything in place. We'll let this sit, I'd say about 30 minutes, and that should be enough time for the cold press glue to dry. Alright, let's go ahead and reveal, show you guys the finished repair. So here we have her. You can see how everything on here came out perfect. Apple logo was good, and we are good to go. So we're gonna have another happy customer with this. Alright guys, that pretty much wraps up our Apple Watch Series 4 glass replacement. One thing I did forget to mention is water resistant seal. We do not guarantee a water resistant seal after we replace these, okay? So it's not recommended that you submerge it in water or anything like that. Even though electronics do say water resistant, I still highly recommend not mixing water and electronics, because once water gets in there, it can mean, you know, them frying some internal components. I really hope you guys did get some useful information. If you guys do need a watch replacement, please visit us at www.mrphonedoctor.com. And of course, if you guys did enjoy this video, please subscribe, leave us a thumbs up, and hit that bell so you're notified on our latest videos. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.